A month after the January 6th insurrection, Congress sought to impeach Trump again. A single article was named, inciting violence against the government of the United States. My next guest was on that impeachment panel. Earlier today, I spoke with Stacey Plaskett, delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands. She experienced a lot of emotions that day, one of which was anger. She gives her account. You are a sitting member up there of Congress and certainly were on the Hill. So could you talk about that day for a minute and tell us a little bit about where you are and what the circumstances were surrounding just kind of your awareness about what actually started to go down there on January 6th?
Sure. I come into Washington the day before and had a chance to drive around the Capitol grounds in the late afternoon the day before, and really had a really eerie sense looking at individuals who were already there, reading some of the signs that they had, just looking at the general demeanor, and made me believe that this is not going to be a simple protest at the ellipse where it was supposed to be. So the day of the attack, our staff was not the full staff. It was the older, more senior staff members that were in that day. And I was actually preparing and had my jacket on, had just put on my jacket and was walking to the door when one of my staffers told me that we have to lock the doors and you cannot go to the floor. So I was sequestered in my office at the time that we see members of Congress who were trapped for a period of time on the floor of the House as they tried to find a way of escape. And the good men and women of the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police Department were able to use their bodies and their will to keep those individuals from coming onto the floor of the House and from wrecking our democracy. It was really very tense to be in another place, in another location. In some ways, you feel guilty that you're not there with your colleagues, watching it transpire and not being a part of it. I know that afterwards they asked us all to go to a secure location. And I can recall one of my staffers walking with me to the secure location where all of the members were. And if you can believe it, when I got there, recognizing that there were so many of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, who would not wear masks at that time. And this was before so many people were vaccinated even, that I actually decided that I felt safer going through the tunnels and going back to my office rather than staying in that location with all of those members. I'd rather run up against insurrectionists on my own than try and fight a virus that I couldn't see. And indeed, a number of my colleagues got sick with COVID at that location.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. You know, I want you to remind us about what was going down that day, because this ordinarily would have been a mundane proceeding of Congress. Congress was actually trying to certify the election, which by all intents and purposes is a thing that happens after every presidential election. But the Stop the Steal rally intentionally put an end to that. And so I would love for you to just comment on exactly what happened and what ignited it so that we can get really clear as a country about how we even got into this mess.
Right. Let's recall that the president had been engaged for a number of weeks, months even, right after the election, in trying to intimidate elected officials in other states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, locations where he knew that the numbers were close and believed that he should win, to try and change the election results. When that did not work, he also had lawsuits, which were summarily dismissed, even by federal judges that he had appointed. And so the president, having watched organizers engage in violent rallies up to that point, used those same organizers and supported them in this Stop the Steal rally. We knew at the time of the impeachment that these rally organizers had initially intended that the rally remain at the ellipse, where a lot of rallies occur. And it was the president himself who changed the permit to have the individuals leave the location of the ellipse and come to the Capitol itself. He knew and wanted these individuals to be on the Capitol grounds to stop the normal progress of democracy, as you said, this thing that we don't even think about, that normally happens and goes without notice by the American people. That is the certification.
Just
and
basic.
So basic. But what he knew was, and what he had done his entire 4 years in office, was feed off of the frustration, anger, ignorance of so many Americans, individuals who were frustrated at where they were in their own life, bigotry and ignorance on the part of some others, and even anger at how our country is moving. And he pulled all of those individuals to himself and then forced them, unleashed them onto the Capitol to try and stop our democracy.
I'm curious how all this made you feel, because we do try to at least understand, maybe not empathize, at least I don't get it, but we do try to recognize the feelings of the others, right? The feelings of the insurrectionists who mad about something. And we're always like, what are you mad about? But I wonder for you, Delegate, who is there trying to do the people's work, how did all of this make you feel? Were you angered by what was taking place?
Of course, anger is a nice way of putting how it made me feel. I could think of some stronger words than that, because so many of us, you know, as an individual of African descent in this country, we have had our own frustrations. We have had our own anger at how this country has treated us, and yet we do not attempt to overthrow our government. What we do is try and work within the framework of democracy to make change, like the individuals in Georgia did. Stacey Abrams, who lost an election, she did not take her supporters and tell them that they had to storm the capital of Georgia. She organized them and registered individuals. Those are the things that right-minded patriots do when they are unhappy with the outcome of an election. Not purport lies, not bring the ignorance of people together, and not have them try and destroy our democracy, use Confederate flags. There were signs that said that, 6 million in Auschwitz was just a beginning, was not enough. These are the hordes of hell that came to Washington, D.C. and attempted to destroy what so many people, so many Americans, our fathers, brothers and sisters who have served this nation, whether as public servants or in the military, have attempted to and have been successful in maintaining up until then.
I have one more question for you while I have you. So many of us sat around and watched this, of course, on the heels of an entire season of Black Lives Matter demonstrations and, the pain in the streets in demonstration against police brutality, of course. And we thought to ourselves, what if this were us? What if it was Black people that were out there trying to tear down the Capitol and chase down and grab members of Congress and, do all kind of crazy stuff? And I wonder if you, as a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, like you said, a person of African descent who is representing this nation, have pondered, what if it were us?
Of course you ponder that. And you know that, I have 4 Black sons. And I can recall telling them in middle school that what is considered as precocious with your white friends will be considered as delinquency on your part. There is a double standard. You cannot do what other people do. And we know that if, 200 of us came to the Capitol, it would have been seen very differently, not only by the police and law enforcement, but by the American people themselves. And so that is why so many of us are pressing accountability on the part of the individuals who attempted to overthrow our government, who attempted to vandalize the Capitol. If I can tell you, not just those Capitol police officers and the Metropolitan Police Department of D.C., but just the workers of the Capitol, the attempt to clean that place up afterwards, the vandalism that occurred, human feces on the walls of our Capitol. Those are the kinds of things that these animals did when they came through the Capitol, and they should continue to be held accountable for it.
Delegate Plaskett, thank you so much for sharing with us about all that was there. And I appreciate you sharing the emotional aspects of it, because I don't want us ever to forget. So we appreciate you and all the work that you're doing to get accountability, and wish you, well as you continue.